Hey everybody, how's it going? You guys asked for this, so here it is. This is a complete mix breakdown of the Deimos demo. It's the tune I did on my previous video. If you've not seen that video, click the link below to watch it now. I do these videos every so often. I'll have a mix which people seem to like, and I'll show you exactly how I did things. So I'm just gonna play the demo again. It's about a minute long, and then we'll get into it. Right, so the best place to start is the guitars. I've done 2 guitar tracks, 2 performances, 1 panned hard left, 1 panned hard right. And this is the amp I'm using. This is Audio Assault's Deimos. It's a new amp sim by them. It's currently free. It might not be free in the future. It's going to be a limited free release, and then they're going to put a price on it. I'm not sure what the plan is. These are all the settings for it. No overdrive pedal, no boost, no post effects. So I'm just using the amp here. All the switches are on. Here are all the settings for the EQ. I took the brightness down a bit because the IR I'm using on this is one of my own custom IRs, and it's kind of bright. It's brighter than what Audio Assault used generally. I'm on the modern channel as well. Then I'm going into Pulse. It's an IR loader, and I've got New Old Dude loaded here. This IR is completely free. It's one of mine. It's linked below. And then EQ, nothing you guys haven't seen before. What's very important with these low tune kind of riffs, because I'm playing in G sharp, so there's a lot of low end on those notes. So, I mean, high passing to at least 100 is the way to go, and I've high passed to 120 here, just sounded right for the mix. Second guitar, like very similar settings on the amp. I think they might be exactly the same, not too sure. Modern channel again, no boosts, no post effects on that plugin. Into Pulse again, but I'm using Super Brutal, which is available down below as well. This is quite a different IR, it's not quite as bright, and it's a blend of lots of different IRs from my own IR packs. EQ, pretty much exactly the same. Might be slightly different. Guitar bus, nothing you guys haven't seen before again. A further high pass to 120 Hz. Because I find re-EQ, just cutting on the track, doesn't quite get rid of all that low end. You know, it's only reducing by like, you know, minus 12 dB or whatever. And just for some reason, high passing again on the bus really lobs off all that low end and keeps things tighter. I'm doing the Andy Sneap trick at about 200 Hz here, just reducing about 3 dB. It's a multi-band compressor trick if you don't know what it's all about. Basically, I'll play the guitars back, solos, and you'll see this moving. Just finding a chuggy part to demonstrate it. So you can see it's dipping when I'm on the palm mutes, because around the low mids, the low end and the low mids, you get a bloom when you mute the strings, when you palm mute the strings, and this tames those low end blooms. And I'm using Nova, which is just one of the best free EQ and dynamics plugins there is. It's a Swiss Army knife for that kind of stuff. It's fantastic. And I'm just cutting out some scratchy frequencies at 4.2K, just keeping it as smooth and as polished as I could get it. I wanted this mix to be as modern, as polished, as hi-fi, as, you know, pleasing as I could get it, while still being aggressive, obviously. Lead guitar. And with lead guitar, I generally like more mids in the sound, get a rounder, more pokey sound, like less low end usually, a fair bit more gain. And I am using a Tube Screamer drive in front inside amp blocker. No post effects. Pulse, I'm using Big Boot number 6. This is kind of a smooth condenser mic sound. It's quite detailed. It's a nice tone. Links below again. Mercurial Chorus, just to get some width on the guitar. And it's a great chorus plugin. Get it if you haven't got it. Valhalla Supermassive, the absolute king of a free ambience. It is the best free plugin for crazy spacey sounds. And then an EQ, keeping the guitars in the mid-range. Hardly any low end on it at all. High passing to 200 Hertz, keeping things super smooth at 4K. I'm just dipping that frequency, keeping things nice and smooth. Again, low pass to 6K, keeping things in the mids. So that guitar soloed, it's a very over-the-top sound, very spacey, very ambient, exactly what I wanted for the song. Yeah, just perfect for the tune. A bit of automation. The intro here is just, you know, some crazy ambience. And that was at like minus 10 dB. And when the song kicks in, it's a lot louder. So I've automated the volume of the leads up to about minus 5. Next, the bass. Again, guys, it's stuff you've seen before. This is pretty much the exact same chain I use on everything. BOD, these are the settings. It's a fantastic all-in-one. You know, I think it's an all-in-one plugin. You put your bass guitar through this, drive it a bit, and, you know, I feel I don't need a cab after this. It just sounds great. EQ, scooping the hell out of it, keeping it out the way of the rhythm guitars, and dipping the low end below about 81, just to kind of keep the bass nice and tight. It's still thunderous, it's got a lot of low end on it. And compression, this is reducing about like 2 or 3 dB overall. And because the bass is really low, there's a lot of low end information, so it is reducing about minus 2 or 3 sort of consistently. Then I've got a parallel bass track. This is Mokafix No Amp. It's a Guitar Sans amp copy. You guys have seen this a million times. And this is just like a British gain sound. All in one, you know, amp and cab sound. Sounds amazing. And I bring this up below the other bass track. So say, yeah, this main track is at minus 6. And then this distorted track is at minus 15, which is, you know, almost 10 dB lower. And obviously I've taken the volume down on No Amp as well. So you just do that kind of thing to taste. It's a parallel distorted track. So I've EQ'd it kind of like I would a guitar, just keeping it in the mids. Don't need any low end on this track because I've already got it covered on the other track. And then compression, driving rock bass preset just as a safety net, but it's barely touching it. So if I play those two bass tracks together, it just gives you this like thunderous growly tone. So the thing is with that sound, I'm not going for that, you know, super modern Dingwall thing usually, but for this, it would have been really cool to get that like 37-inch scale bass, you know, super thick strings to get that real like twangy kind of zingy sound. That would have been really cool. I know there's like VST instruments you can get, but this did the job and I think it's a good tone. It tends to gel pretty well with the guitars. I'll just play the bass and the guitars together. Like you take the bass away, the guitars are a lot weaker. You know, the bass is very important for the thickness of the guitars. Right, I put an explosion in 3 times during this song. Yeah, just to add some like crazy, djenty, modern sort of core impact, you know? So I've got a chorus on it just to widen it, because I found this explosion sound just sort of goes up the middle, and I wanted it to sound bigger. So I've spread it over the stereo spectrum a little bit with the Mercurial chorus here, but I'm not actually adding chorus, it's just sort of spreading it over the middle and the sides. And EQ, I kind of low pass the sound to 5K. Like if I turn this stuff off, I'll just show you the explosion, how it is sort of raw. That's great, that's how I usually use it, but then you put this stuff on. So it's a little bit more lo-fi, but it's spread, you know, towards the sides a bit more. Just to get me that nice ridiculous sound I was after. Right, now I'll get to the part everybody's been asking about, because this is a drum kit I don't use often. I've not used it for a long time. When I've used it those couple of times a couple of years ago, I didn't use it the way I used it here. So what have we got? Right, I've got Perfect Drums. Now, this sampler window of Perfect Drums comes with the premium version, but they do have the free version of this called PD Player on their site. Now, Perfect Drums as a company by Naughty Seal Audio, they're pretty much defunct. They do other stuff now. I've forgotten what their new plugins are, but the Perfect Drums website is still up. You can still get PD Player. You can even get a whole sampler kit there for free. You can get free samples and all that as well. But what this is a sampler window, and there are companies that make instrument drum kits for Perfect Drums, like Panda Sound, and that's what I'm using today. This is the Arcane Hate Kit by Panda Sound, but I've messed with it a bit to change it a little bit. So most of the kit they're all the pieces. They are just as they are. I haven't done any individual processing on these sounds. This is just like totally stock. But I wasn't enjoying the kick drum, so I deleted it, which you can do here. You just click on there and you say clear sampler instrument, or you can clear the entire kit if you like. But I just wanted to get rid of the kick drum and replace it with something a bit more like Humanity's Last Breath or Throne. That mixer Buster, who does the mixing for those bands, and he's in those bands as well, just has some of the most amazing modern production I've ever heard. And I wanted to get a kick drum that was similar to his. And luckily, I had one lying around. Ages ago, I got the Panda Shots pack, the first pack, which is from Panda Sound, and this is one of the kicks. These are one-shot samples, and I got the massive kick loaded up here, and it's amazing. It's just got a huge modern sound to it. I've not EQ'd it or altered it at all. This is just as it comes. I sort of brought it up to the right level inside the sampler, and this is the sound of the kit. It just sounds great. I'll just play it quickly. So very modern, like very processed, kind of fake, but that's the point. If I was going for something natural, I'd go for a Eurotone kit, which is what I usually use at the moment. Or ML drums, a little bit more natural, but still polished. But this is like full on, you know, everything's pinned 127, slapping you in the face as hard as possible, and that's what I wanted. So this being a one shot and not round robined, it seems to work within the track. If I was doing a fast song, I probably wouldn't have used this kit, but it just really works for this track. So hardly any processing after this, guys. Just a compressor, just to glue things a little bit more. When you put a compressor on like this after your kit, it'll bring out the cymbals a bit more, but you know, you can always adjust your drums to the compressor. I just really like the way this sounds. I've been using this setting for a very long time on a lot of different kits. Really like it. And something I wanted to experiment with was some reverbs. So I've got the Epic Plate by Variety of Sound, I think they're called, and I put on a preset. I think I started with Drum Booth, or it might have been Drum Chamber, and I altered it quite a bit. So what we got going on here is just like a plate reverb, but it's really cool. You've got lots of options here, high pass options. I just moved that up to 130. You know, I didn't need much bass or low end in the reverb, But it has this drive control as well, which not just adds volume, but it gives the kit like a little bit more sort of like aggressive sort of juiciness. I really liked it. So I'll just play back the track and I'll turn off the compressor and the reverb so you can just hear what's going on. You can hear when I turn it off, it just gets a bit more dry. It's not quite as juicy or as aggressive. The processing is off and then I'll turn them back on. Yeah, so those are the drums, guys. Really happy with that kit. If I go for a full-on djenty modern core type thing again, I'm definitely going to use this kit I made. And like, don't underestimate drums, guys. It is the place to spend your money. If you want to change your mixes up dramatically, get a new drum kit. Experiment with samples and all types of mixing techniques. You know, you won't be sorry. So that is the whole mix, guys. I'm not doing some crazy routing. Nothing particularly crazy in terms of automation. I'm not automating any of this. The only thing that's been automated is the lead guitar, and that's basically just a volume boost, you know, when it comes in again in the song. Yeah, that is about it. There's been a lot of heavy editing though. You know, as you can see, there's a lot of chopping. Because I wanted that very, you know, super gated sound. And the best gate you can get for a guitar is just to, like, you know, chop out the silences. You know, if I just like make it raw, yeah, you can gate this stuff, but I find just putting the work in and just chopping out the silences is the way to go. Put that in the mix. You can hear the noise coming in there. And the way I edit guitars is fairly minimal, usually. Like if I get something wrong, I'll play it again. And the way to play the performances is just to play as tight as possible. But when you're in a pinch and you're being lazy or whatever, you can edit. And what I do is slip editing. So obviously I've made an incision here, shall we say, like a split cut there. And if you click on the track, you actually, well, on Windows, just highlight the track there. So I'm holding Alt and I'm left clicking on the track, holding both. You can see the audio within the clip moving around. That's called slip editing. So if you really want to get your performances as absolutely tight as possible, this is the way to do it. I'll just undo that, put it back to where it was. That is the way to sort of clean up some of your guitar. Or if you have clients and they send you DIs that are just not very good, obviously try and get them to re-record it. Or, you know, do a bit of slip editing and it might get you there. They're not absolutely robotically perfect. I think that would be really sort of dull, but they're pretty good. You see, they don't line up absolutely perfectly here. You know, that's not what I want. I'm still a human being. I mean, as you can see, I mean, all the guitar takes, like, I'm not absolutely perfectly on grid. If I was, you know, I'd just sound like a VST instrument, which is not what I want. I do want a bit of humanity in my songs because I've got completely fake drums, you know, but I am playing the bass and I am playing the guitars. So most of what you're hearing is human. And that's what I go for. Right, the mastering part of things. I'm not going to break this down in huge detail, but I'll show you what I did differently here. This is the same as normal. This chain, I use it all the time. It hardly ever changes. There's a video link below breaking it all down, so check that out. It's completely free. It's using mostly stock Reaper plugins. EQ is the same. Exciter is the same. Rex Comp is the same, but I added back in the stereo enhancer, which I haven't used for about a year now, but I just felt this mix should be as wide as possible. Now, yeah, I could pan things a bit differently. I could, you know, use some little tricks to make it sound wider, but I was like, you know what, let's try the stereo enhancer, which is a plugin that basically boosts the sides. So if I go back to the start, let's just try. This is with it off. You'll hear it, it's kind of subtle, but if you've got headphones on, you'll hear the difference. This is with it off. And this is with it on. As you can hear there, guys, everything on the sides just gets a bit louder and the mix gets wider. Use this stuff subtly. I mean, the default on this is 100. I've got it on 110. So I'm putting it up by what, 10%? You know, subtle moves with these widening plugins, guys. Digital versatile compressor, it's not compressing, it's just boosting level at 3 dB. I should probably get rid of this plugin, but you know, old habits die hard. Events Horizon limiter clipper, boosting most of the level. This is an absolute magic, completely transparent limiter clipper. It is amazing. Master limiter, it's your standard sort of limiter in Reaper, sounds great. And then the secret source, Mojo by Air Windows. This is the simplest and probably one of the best plugins out there for maximizing your mix. And then Restream, because I'm going into OBS. And that is about it, guys. If you got any questions, feel free to ask me down below. I don't like telling people what you should do and what you shouldn't do. I just want to tell you guys how I do things, what I enjoy, and you guys seemed really interested in the sound of this mix. And as you can see, it's nothing out of the ordinary when it comes to the guitars and the bass, but I am doing things quite a bit differently when it came to the drums. So cheers, check out the links below, guys. Thanks for watching, guys, I really appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to see more metal related stuff. I'll be back sometime with a video on something else, so until then, ciao.